Well, let's go live south of the border to Washington, where Premier Doug Ford is addressing the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
For a second before it snaps in, but I just want to tell you, I love the U.S. I love the American people. I love the Canadian people, and I know Americans I speak to, and I know thousands of people, they say the same thing. They love Canada, and Canadians love America. So thank you for coming. It's such a real honor to be here today with so many business leaders from Canada and across the United States. Alongside, and I brought a couple of friends, I call them my champions, alongside Vic Fedeli, Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, and he's instrumental in making sure that both sides of the border see economic development and thrive and prosper and grow. So, Vic, if you want to just stand up for a second and say hello. I call Vic my #1 salesperson. I also brought along Stephen Lecce, a great Minister of Energy and Electrification, and he is moving that file forward like we've never seen. We're leaders in the nuclear sector with small modular reactors, and there's no one more we want to send energy to than our friends, our family members in the U.S., as you were saying, Neil, and I've been using that terminology, family members, for forever. So thank you, Stephen, and let's keep working on those SMRs and creating more opportunities for both sides of the border. I couldn't think of a better place to start our mission to Washington than the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And Neil, thank you so much for hosting us and having us by. Over the last few weeks and months, a lot has been said about the strength of the U.S.-Canada relationship. You know, as you were saying, you know, the two strongest allies and friends in the world, two treasured allies, and just standing shoulder to shoulder on so many crises that both our countries have faced over decades. Decades of economic growth through free trade, millions of jobs created on both sides of the border. Countless lives sacrificed in battle in defense of our common values. All of this is true. And it's so important to remember everything we've achieved together. But now, more than ever, we need to focus on the future. And we need to be clear, very clear-eyed, about the real risk we're facing right now, about the true trade war we're waging, which is, in my opinion, is totally unnecessary, which will hurt both countries dramatically. About our common economic enemy, and I'll tell you who our common economic enemy is. As the whole world is watching two closest friends about to wage an economic war against each other, the world is watching carefully. A lot of the world is saying, we're next. A lot of the world is sitting back and laughing. And I'll tell you who's sitting back and laughing is China. China's sitting back and thinking we couldn't ask for a better plan than this. Over the last few months, I've met and spoken with senators, congressmen and women, governors from every region of America and from both sides of the aisle. And I'll tell you what they say. They won't say it publicly. They say, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, I have yet to hear one elected official down here and say, that's a great idea. Let's attack Canada economically. It's never been said. I've yet to meet one CEO, and I've talked to endless CEOs, say, let's go after Canada. Every single U.S. corporation, their headquarters, for the most part, not all, but a good chunk of them, probably 85%, they're located in Toronto or Ontario somewhere. And the supply chain is so integrated. In these conversations, I promoted Ontario's close economic partnership with the United States, a relationship built on more than $365 billion in balanced two-way trade. I've never seen anything like it. It's literally split right down the center. Trade that benefits both equally. Ontario is America's third largest trading partner in the world. Just think, and I never recommend this, if Ontario was a standalone country, would be your third largest trading partner in the world. As you were saying, Neil, we're the #1 export destination for 17 states and #2 to 11 others. When I'm on the media, I like saying customer. I'm a business guy. I'm not a politician. And I'm not. I don't see eye to eye with politicians, but that's another whole story. And government drives me crazy. That's another whole story, but we'll chat another day. But that's what I look at it as, you're our largest customer, we're your largest customer. And each and every day, think of this, 9 million Americans wake up to go to work and earn a paycheck by making something that's sold to a customer in Ontario. So they're making products for people in Ontario. Now, what they don't say in this speech is 28 states around the U.S., their number one customer is Canada. Ontario has 17 and 11 of number two. In my conversations with U.S. lawmakers, I've also heard serious concerns about China, about how China is ripping off American workers by flooding markets and hijacking global supply chains. America has had enough, American workers have had enough, and I've had enough. In response, U.S. lawmakers are leading the most ambitious economic realignment in the past 100 years. They're decoupling from China and its global proxies. Doing so will be no easy task. It will require long-term thinking. It will require dedication, and most of all, it will require friends and allies like Canada and Ontario, and I can tell you, Canada's here to help. Working together, Canada and the U.S. can be the richest, most successful, safest, most secure two countries on the entire planet when we're working together. We can usher in a new American-Canadian century, what President Trump calls new golden age. We do so by building Fortress Aman. Fortress Aman is a renewed alliance between America and Canada that's a beacon of stability, security, and long-term economic growth on both sides of the border. First, Fortress Aman promotes free, fair, and balanced trade. Fair trade means fighting back against freeloaders that rip off workers by taking advantage of free trade agreements designed to protect jobs at home. I'm talking about China. Together, let's put an end to Chinese transshipments through Mexico into American and Canadian markets. Every member of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement needs to match or exceed U.S. tariffs on Chinese products. Electric vehicles, batteries, and in particular, aluminum and steel all need matching tariffs. If they fail to do so, they should lose their seat at the table. I always say, if you don't play fair in a deal, no matter if it's business or politics, you should excuse yourself from the table. And let's protect against Chinese investment and ownership in strategically important sectors, such as critical minerals and energy. Canada and the United States and Mexico all need strong, robust investment review processes designed to block Chinese investments aimed at undermining our economies. Second, let's grow the AMCAN economy for AMCAN workers. Fortress AMCAN needs to take action to reshore supply chains, attract investments, and bring good jobs back home for workers on both sides of the border. We do so by streamlining regulations to promote economic integration and by eliminating anti-worker, anti-business taxes. You know, folks, I can tell you, I've been in office for 7 years. I don't believe in taxes. Government doesn't have an income problem, they have a spending problem. We have never, ever raised taxes from the day we've been in office. Matter of fact, through great leadership of my friends sitting in the front row, we reduced the cost of doing business in Ontario by $8 billion each and every single year. Well, I can see there's some Ontario folks in here too clapping because they're getting the benefits of that $8 billion, including by scrapping Canada's digital service tax and the Canadian carbon tax. Those are two terrible taxes, by the way. Third, we need to accelerate strategic resource development. I'm calling for a new AMCAN Critical Mineral Security Alliance, an alliance that invests and builds out American and Canadian critical mineral supply chains, so we're less dependent on China, on Russia, and other countries that don't share our democratic values. As we do, we need to speed up regulatory approvals. Fortress AMCAN will designate areas where multiple critical minerals are present, or likely to be present, including the Ring of Fire region in Ontario, the largest critical mineral deposit in the entire world. As regions of strategic importance to the national security of Canada and the United States, these regions will be supported with a special approvals process that cuts down timelines to get minerals out of the ground, processed, and shipped to factory floors. The same kind of necessary regulatory reform being led by the Trump administration. Fourth, we'll achieve AMCAN energy security to power AMCAN economic growth. Fortress AMCAN should be powered by AMCAN energy of every type, energy that is produced, consumed, and creates jobs in every single region in both countries. I want to further integrate our energy and electricity grids. People don't realize, as we stand right here, right now, we can deliver from Ontario electricity as far south as Florida. In just a moment's notice, we can flick on the switch or flick off the switch. I prefer flicking on all the switches, and encourage more exports of Canadian energy and electricity to the U.S. to power your economic growth. Fifth, Fortress AMCAN will protect AMCAN land, air, Arctic, water, and communities. Canada needs to demonstrate that we take our shared security seriously. It's not only what President Trump has asked, it's the right thing to do. It's why Ontario launched Operation Deterrence, working with fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, drones, off-road vehicles, boats, and foot patrol. Over 200 dedicated officers have already conducted 10,000 hours of focused patrol to detect, disrupt, and deter illegal cross-border activity. Operation Deterrence has already led to hundreds of charges against illegal border crossers, against people smuggling illegal drugs, stolen vehicles, and illegal firearms across the border. But when it comes down to it, we need to do more. I'm urging Canada's federal government to pass strict new mandatory minimum sentences and other reforms so any thug convicted of trafficking fentanyl or illegal drugs get thrown in jail for good. That's it. They're gone, they're done. Ontario and the federal government will also work together to get at the root cause of drug smuggling. We'll audit any bank, credit union, or financial institution suspected of financing gangs or cartels. And finally, we will keep pushing our federal government to do its part by exceeding Canada's 2% NATO defense spending commitment. Friends, this is Fortress AMCAN. This is a way forward. It's a vision that respects each country as proudly independent, and it celebrates what we can achieve together. Let's stop wasting time and energy and effort fighting each other, threatening tariffs that will only hurt workers, hurt businesses, and cost more for families, hurting hard-working people just looking to get ahead in life. Instead, let's focus on restoring the pride of Made in the USA and Made in Canada. Let's be unapologetic as we stand up for American and Canadian workers. Today, let's usher in the new American and Canadian century, a new golden age. Let's build Fortress AMCAN. Thank you, and may God bless the people of America, and may God bless the people of Canada. Thank you so much.
Well, we've been listening to a very passionate speech by Premier Doug Ford down in the U.S., addressing the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, striking a very friendly tone, trying to make the case for Canada that these threats of tariffs should not be coming and that the two sides should work together for prosperous economies. We're going to have a lot more on those discussions throughout the morning and afternoon.